Today is my grandfather's Yahrtzeit, Reb Shlomo Menashe ben Reb Shmuel Yitzchak. Beis Neshama have an aliyah. I'm sharing this information because it's relevant to all grandfathers, past, present, and future. The impact that my Zaida, my grandfather, had on me was tremendous. My father, may he be well, was working around the clock to make a livelihood, a parnasa for our family. He worked 2 jobs in the beginning. He worked very hard, to put it mildly. It would be equivalent to a normal person's, working 4 weeks. He worked in 1 week, many, many hours. When I came home from yeshiva, from Cheder, from the Lubavitch yeshiva, my Zaida bought me a special Yiddish chumash called a chumash Beis Yehuda on Bereshis. This was broken down in the 1960s. This was a chumash with a Yiddish translation, and my first language was Yiddish. Our home was a Holocaust home, a home of both sets of parents and grandparents survived the Holocaust, and the natural tongue was Yiddish. Coming home from Cheder, coming home from yeshiva, my father wasn't home. My mother was busy with children and cooking, cleaning, and it was my Zaida who took me. I remember like yesterday. He took me on his lap. He put me on his lap, and he was so kind and so loving. And he reviewed with me the Chumash. His natural Yiddish dialect was the Polish Yiddish. Mine was both. From yeshiva, I knew the Lubavitch Yiddish dialect, the more Litvish dialect. And from home, I knew the Polish Yiddish dialect. But I remember how he exuded this love, this ava, and this went into my bones. It crept into my bones. Later, as I got a little older, and I was already a young teenager, there are days when you're not well, you're sick, you don't feel well, so you come home from yeshiva early or you don't go. My Zaida and Bubba at the time lived around the corner from us here in Borough Park. And I remember either I went over to his house or he came to my house, and he would bring these falafels. We had Mendelssohn's Pizza still there around the corner, but the original Mr. Mendelssohn, who was a survivor from Poland, a Ger Chassid, and his thing was to give large pizzas, slices of pizza, and big, full falafels. And he caught Borough Park with this, because people were, the pizza stores, the few pizza stores that we had, most of them were very skimsy in giving a large slice. They gave small slices. And my Zaida would go out and he would buy that and he would say, here, Chaim, here. And it was so good to be able to, here I'm home, I'm not feeling that well. And he brought this home. I also remember when we lived in another few blocks away here in Borough Park, there was a store, they had corned beef sandwiches, and he would come home with his corned beef sandwiches and he would say, here. These kind of silly little things are not silly. They're so important for the development of a child, be it both from the spiritual Torah perspective of learning with your grandson and your granddaughter, and also the camaraderie and the friendliness and the friendship. I'll tell you one more thing. These are all, my grandfather liked wrestling. He liked to watch wrestling. I don't know where he picked that up, whether he got it in Poland, or later on he was in Costa Rica before he came to America. So I don't know where he picked up this interest in wrestling, interest. So he would sometimes say, come, watch with me wrestling. I didn't know from wrestling from Adam, wrestling. Today, we need more grandfathers to reach out to their grandchildren. We're going through a crisis which children and youth are not interested in learning in a yeshiva, in a girls' school, at an early age, at a young age. The parents struggle, and they pay money, and they go for counseling, and they do everything they can. And it doesn't work always. You'll be surprised that a grandfather and a grandmother, and I think especially a grandfather, can have a very big impact on this situation. So my message is to all grandfathers. You have a great, we have a great responsibility to reach out, to embrace your grandson, your granddaughter, take him out for a pizza, take him out for a walk. Just sit on the couch and hang out with them, sing a niggin with them, say a Yiddish story, learn some Torah, whatever you could do to get them to feel so good about you and you about them, about him or her, that this will develop and blossom, and only good things will come from it. My grandfather went through the Holocaust, as I told you. He lost his first wife and 2 children. He was a survivor in the true sense of the word, and he never gave up. His personality, he was such a sensitive person, such an edler person, a refined person. I never heard him get upset and angry on his own. Once in a blue moon, when someone really from the family drove him nuts, he would react, but generally he was so calm, it was so, tranquil and soothing. You just wanted to be around him. He had good, what they call today, good vibes, good energy. He came from Hasidim, he came from Alexander Hasidim. And he had this black book that he brought with him from Poland, which had a list and pictures of many Hasidic Rebbes in Poland. And I remember him sitting me down and going over and reading to me about this Rebbe and about this tzaddik. Another thing that he excelled in, he was a Baal Tefillah in a shul in East Flatbush, a block from where we lived or so. It was known as, we knew it as Rabbi Cohen Shul. This Rabbi Cohen was one of the only experts in chalitza. When the Levirate type of marriage, when God forbid, if a woman passes, her husband passes on, he has a brother, she's obligated to marry him unless he gives chalitza, it's called, with the shoe and the spitting in the shoe. There's a whole process. So very few rabbis in New York really were experts in it. He was Rabbi Cohen. He was the Rav of that shul. Later he made Aliyah. It was a big shul with a women's gallery on top, and it was nice and large. My grandfather many times davened for the Amud there, and I remember going as a little boy. Although it wasn't a Lubavitcher shul, I went with my father to the local Chabad shtibel that my father and a few of his friends made. This is all during the 1960s. But from time to time, I went with my grandfather to the big shul, Rabbi Cohen shul, and his sweet voice, his melodic voice was beautiful. I remember one of the tunes he would sing is da 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 Oy da 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 la da 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 la ya da da la ya ya da la da 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 dum bum ba da dum bum bum ba da dum bum bum ba da dum bum bum da 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 da. Hi, la da da, la da da la 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 da da. Hey, I lit it Allah, I lit it Allah, I lit it Allah, I lit it Allah. Hi, la da, la da, la da, ha la 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 la. Hey, da 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 da. Da 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 da. Hi. Da 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 da. He sang this to Kayla. Kayla doid akol hamaisim, etc., etc. So he also instilled a love of nagina, of this type of music. It was, you could hear in his beautiful voice, you can hear coming out of the pain, coming out of the Holocaust, survival. And he loved us grandchildren. Four children. It was the only thing he had in his life. I also remember him going, the Shem Tovs, Mendel Shem Tov Olav Shalom and Rabbi Yisrael Shem Tov. They had a plastic factory somewhere in Brooklyn at the time, and through my father, they gave him a job. By trade, he was a tailor. In Europe, he was a tailor. And I think even in Costa Rica, he was a tailor. So somehow they had him come and do some work for him, just to give a Yid a favor. Mendel Shem Tov told me that he learned from his father, when it comes to helping a Yid with parnasa, with a livelihood, you give him a job. Even if it's not the type of job that he knows, you make it work somehow. So you're able to pay him some money to bring home. So I remember him going on the G train at the time. I think it was somewhere in Queens. So from Borough Park, you took one train, you transferred to the G train at the time. These are some of my memories. He's buried out in the Wellwood Cemetery in Exit 35 on Long Island. Passed away over 40 years ago. And it's definitely time that Shlomo Menashe, Ben of Shmuel Yitzchak, should rise together with everyone else to have Tchias HaMesim, the resurrection of the dead, the coming of Mashiach, and we should take from him these messages and lessons in our own life, and will have a tremendous impact on our grandchildren. Amen, amen, and amen.